for the trail that the village was gonna do, I think it might be advantageous to put it along the other side of the driveway too.
The other side of the driveway, I'm not.
Yeah, on the south side of the driveway,
On Larry's side?
yeah.
Oh, where he owns?
Well, kinda.
Kinda.
Okay.
They're parking on the driveway,
Yes.
Oh, those parking signs.
yeah.
Have you
So-
heard from Chief on that?
No, I thought it was all approved and he was just waiting there.
Yeah, Chief
I
was gonna
thought,
give us the verbiage that he wanted on the
I
signs.
thought that was already done.
Not, as far as I knew, that's where we left it at, and then, cause he went on vacation, he might have forgot.
Oh, he told me it was all done and, that Ed had already ordered the signs and.
Oh, Ed already ordered them? Okay.
Yeah, so kind of what I'm saying is I think it might be advantageous to get a couple more to put them on the south, because I was more interested in the parking area,
Mhm.
but it might be advantageous to put them on the other side too.
Well, they were told when we approved that
Yes.
plan that there was to be no parking on that driveway because that is a way to get in and out of the sewer plant.
Correct.
And if we can't get into that sewer plant, then sewers
Well,
go back up.
You can get
know what I
into the
mean?
sewer plant, but you can't back out of the parking places.
Oh,
So you can drive by them, you know, they're kind of part on their property and part on the driveway. But you need the driveway to be able to back out.
yeah.
Call Larry Stone.
Well, first you gotta have a sign and put it there, so.
Code enforcer. Well, thank you, Mr. Delucky.
You're welcome.
The signs are ordered.
I don't know, would you
That's
mind
what I was
checking
told.
with Chief
With Chief
for me,
to see
please? Because
if
the last
he's
I
given-
knew, that was where it ended,
If
but
he's
I
given any
don't.
verbiage.
Yes,
Okay.
okay, thank you. Because I know he said he wanted two signs, two actual separate ones, so. Okay, any other citizen comments? Hearing none, we have no presentations tonight. Under administrative reports, we have a building department report, we have a planning commission meeting minutes of February 4th, 2013. Are there any other commissioner liaison reports at this time, or any comments about anything in that?
Well, I'm just gonna quick go before you because you take a little bit longer. I gave everybody, just a quick update of my classes that I took, as Mr. Woolock or Trustee Woolock had requested, and, a little brief discussion of what we did. So this was the week in Mount Pleasant a couple weeks ago. So that's it. I'm not gonna read them. I just gave them to you for reference. And it was just this year. I could have went on and did the other 2 years, but I didn't. So I did this year. But I am graduated. I have finished the course.
So congratulations on being a certified clerk.
No, not yet, not yet. I'm
Oh, I
close.
thought you
no,
were. I
no,
thought I
that's
saw
my
that.
education credits. It's not all of my.
Sorry.
I've got to compile all my credits, so I've got a little bit of time yet,
All right, sorry.
but it's close.
Any other commissioner liaison reports?
Yes, I had one on our downtown sidewalks. Giffords Register is working on our plans. We have they've also went down and marked the sidewalks in the downtown area, the tip flags and things like that, that have got to be replaced. They'll have something for us in our next meeting as a timetable. Also, they attended the federal aid committee meeting, the FAC, and they met on behalf of the village of Armada on April 5th. There will soon be a call for additional road projects, an opportunity to move federally funded projects forward, an opportunity to secure more funds for 2013 projects due to a surplus in the TIP funding that needs to be used by the end of 2014, and they'll keep us updated as more information comes available.
I received an email on that. It's on Friday, that
That was
meeting?
the last, that was the one that was on.
Okay. All right, perfect.
So are you talking about maybe moving one of our projects up?
If you wanted to,
If we
you
wanted
could.
to, but I don't think we want to at this point in
Okay.
time. But if there is more money available that we can use for more road funding, we're gonna go after it. I'd like to.
Okay.
Okay.
So the time frame you'll have next, because we need to get those businesses notified, we need to let everybody
Right.
know what's going on as
Exactly.
soon as we know.
Yes.
Because that's gonna be a little more
It's gonna take
disruptive
some
than
time.
what,
Yeah.
And I think it's gonna take roughly, it'll be maybe a 2-month deal up there.
2 months.
Well, it could be, it could go from the 1st of May till July 1st, so that would be approximately 2 months.
I don't know, I didn't, I
Now,
don't think, yeah.
you always put in there for weather and you put in for different
Yeah.
ways. Now, if it gets done in 10 days, hooray. If it doesn't, we've prepared for it.
Have we looked into any other companies that do that lifting?
We've looked into mud jacking, like the traditional mud jacking, and we haven't heard.
Well,
any-
CDBG's, or the
Yeah.
county's
Yeah.
shut us down, and I just wondered if there was any other,
They're pretty much the only ones that do that. That's why CDBG was gonna allow us to
Yeah.
use them before. But yeah, the project, we're gonna allow them kind of a 2 month or so window.
Yeah.
And we're not really planning on them actually being out there constructing it and ripping it up for that long. It's gonna be
Right.
a much shorter time, but give them a larger window because it's a small project that they can come in and do it in a few days, hopefully a week, and then get back out. But give them an area because that's gonna be more advantageous for you. That way the contractor can put it within his schedule of other projects
right?
within this.
Can you pass this to Michelle for final, please?
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Ballard? Any other commissioner liaison reports?
I do. I also have one from Giffords.
Okay,
It's nice that Amy delivers us our meeting announcements here. S2 grant, mine is the S2 grant. Giffords Webster has begun the preparation of the documents. Televised and traffic control bid documents also are being underway to us shortly. And they anticipate probably in about 4 to 6 weeks starting with the wastewater treatment plant. Yep.
okay. Any questions for Mr. Sturman? Any other commissioner liaison
Real
reports?
quick about the park, the summer concerts are gonna be starting in end of May, early June. I talked to Sam Belkey, she's lining up bands now. If anyone has a band they want to play or knows one, there's still a few that weren't filled yet.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other commissioner liaison reports? Hearing none, we're moving to consent agenda. Everyone has their regular council meeting minutes of March 25th, 2013, and their payment of bills. Is there anything anyone would like to pull, or is there a motion at this time?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion by Mr. Audi, is there a second?
Support.
Support by Mr. Ballard. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, nay.
I need to abstain on the minutes part.
Yep. But you approved the bills?
Yes.
Thank you. Next agenda item is old business, the ethics policy. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? Hearing none, Mr. Audi, this is your agenda item.
It's actually Jeff's, I believe.
Mine?
Yeah, well,
Yes.
at at the last meeting, it was just, I called Jeff after the meeting, about, what your motion was to, at least give you a cost before preparing, so that's what Jeff's part is, so.
Right, Michelle did call me. I guess the way I would recommend approaching this is, Harry's provided a couple of different models. I think the Saugatuck model is the most recent one. I mean, if council, wants just a blessing on a model that they find acceptable, I don't think it would take more than, maybe $300 to put it into, final format. If council, however, wants to consider, start from scratch, give us what you think is best. I mean, again, it probably could get closer to, between $500 and $1,000, but again, it's just really hard because I need feedback from council as to, what they're looking for as the preferable model. But again, if council said, look, here is what we want, and we want you to make sure this is legal and this terminology looks good, and that really honestly wouldn't take that long. I wouldn't be recreating the wheel. I'd just basically give you some thoughts and comments. But again, the alternative where we would start from scratch and go out and try to put a Village of Armada stamp on it, again, I think it'd be closer to $500 to $1,000. So I hope that helps a little bit, but that's kind of where it's at.
Jeff, didn't we talk before that we're there's already policies or law in place to prevent things from this that we would be reiterating in the ethics policy? There's other ways that a government official has to present themselves, correct?
Well, there's not a direct, there are some state laws that talk about interest in state contracts and things like that, but those are not directly applicable to the village per se. In other words, if you really wanted something to give guidance on an ethical basis, I would recommend that you have your own local ethics resolution. Otherwise, you don't really have any teeth behind it unless you can say, here are our ethics policies and this is what was violated. Another way to answer that, Mike, is that again, the state, I think, other than committing a criminal act, again, that's limited to sometimes purchasing situations and things like that. Whereas I think if you look at the models that Mr. Audi brought forth, I think they're a more broader, covers much more council activity than simply not having an interest in a company that you're doing business with, things like that. So it's much more narrow at the state level, and that's why, again, I'd recommend, if you're gonna go this way, you probably want something a little broader and local.
And I brought this up 2 months ago initially. The MML recommends it as a best practice. What came to my attention was a former DDA member on the previous DDA board. Someone had made mention of something they'd done and asked if that was unethical and against policy, and it turns out we really didn't have one. So without having a defined policy, it's hard to determine, one, what actions are allowed within the village and within the scope of both our employees, appointed and elected officials. So I'm pretty comfortable with one moving forward. Saugatuck has a good one, and I trust Jeff. I'll make a motion to allow the village attorney to prepare a draft ethics policy for the village of Armada at a cost not to exceed $300.
Well, sorry, I'll let you continue. A motion by Mr. Audi, is there a second? Is there a second?
Okay.
Hearing none. To go back to it, if you want him to prepare one, he said the cost would be $500 to $1,000. If you want him to give his blessing on it, then it's only $300. So I don't really think Jeff wants to sign on to draft a whole one for $300.
No, I didn't.
No, I think you mentioned Saugatuck.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so you wanted to use the Saugatuck model and just
Yeah.
get his blessing on it, or
Yeah.
get him to review the
Draft one.
Saugatuck?
Yep. Draft one for the village of Armada.
Okay, is there any other discussion by council?
Is one needed? That's my question. If there's laws on the books that govern elected, appointed officials, then, and if it's by the state of Michigan, we are a part of the state of Michigan, so therefore their laws would pertain to us too, just as well as the county of Macomb would. Don't get me wrong, I mean, I think that ethics policies are a good thing if they are needed. But if they're not needed, and we already have laws in effect, why put more on our books? I guess that's what I'm.
I just, personally, we're a small town. Everyone knows everyone's business here. I mean, if you're gonna do something, everyone kind of already knows, I just don't know.
I just want to follow up. I think Mike asked me, I just want to make clear. You asked, aren't we already covered? And just so you know, and again, we do have employee, I don't want everybody to think that we don't have anything governing employees. We do have employee rules of conduct which govern your behavior. Again, that doesn't go as far as I think getting into some ethical principles, but I don't want to leave the impression that employees are not covered by employee rule of conduct, Mike. So we do have that, So we are partially covered on that, but those are more do's and don'ts in the workplace versus obviously things like stealing or an assault in the workplace. Those are really geared directly to employees by the employee rules of conduct. So we do have that in place.
Does the township have one? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Does anyone know if the township has one?
I don't know.
We kind of went through this, Steve, you remember when Ross brought
Yeah.
this up? We kind of went through this, Jeff, and then we just decided it would be more trouble than it was worth. But we did discuss this. I don't know if you were there then, wow,
Yeah.
it was 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
That long ago.
Is there anyone that wants to make a motion at this time? Okay, hearing none, we will move to the next agenda item. The next agenda item under new business is DDA budget acceptance. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? Hearing none, Treasurer Adair, this is your agenda item.
Everybody has copies of the budget. I gave you the last meeting. There's been no changes, no revisions. It was adopted at the planning/DDA meeting of 3/31,
27?
3/27. Okay.
Yep.
And now presented to you for approval.
Did we already do that?
Acceptance, we approved it, they
Adopted.
adopted it, we accepted it.
Oh, okay. All right.
I don't think just so we don't need to accept, if they've approved it, they adopt their budget, but they cannot adopt it till council approves it.
Right, I
So
thought
we-
we only saw it once as council.
No,
No, we
last
haven't.
year, this is
It bounced
exactly
back
what we
and
had
forth,
to do,
yeah.
yeah.
No, but I'm just, okay, that's what I'm trying to do. They can't adopt their budget till council approves it.
Which happened,
Let's have.
yeah.
Okay, so have they adopted their budget?
Yes,
Yes.
Then we're done.
we're done.
Yeah,
So we don't,
Okay.
we don't need anything in the motion.
Yeah, we're done. I mean,
I'm looking at you behind the camera, Joe.
Yeah,
no, we're good. I mean, as long as they've adopted it after council.
Approved it, we did.
And it is exactly what we approved, so
Exactly.
it's all good. Okay.
I
Any
have two
discussion?
questions.
Yes.
Do we have to do anything with this bank resolution, or is that all within?
That's
their-
all with the
within
planning.
them?
Yeah.
And two, do we refer to this board now, or whatever they're called as Armada Planning Commission and the DDA? Or is it just Armada Planning?
They are the DDA.
It's still the DDA?
They should have separate agendas, separate meetings.
Okay.
But they can happen the same night, but they're two
Okay.
separate bodies.
Okay.
They're exercising all the DDA powers. They are the DDA board.
Okay. Okay. I just
So
wanted to
they
make
need
sure.
to have separate minutes also
Mhm.
for each, oh lordy, okay.
Yes, Mr. Dolan?
We actually have separate officers too.
Oh,
So it's a separate board within the board.
okay. So
So
you've already
separate
been
minutes,
made
agendas.
aware of all the ins and outs of
Yeah.
this?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what we did before we adopted the budget.
I went as part of the planning commission.
The first meeting went great too, really quick. It went smoothly
Okay.
and
I think
Got
any
the
business is only gonna take you a couple minutes, so.
But
All right,
20
so, okay.
over 20 years to pay off the debt.
Well, you're gonna be talking about it every year for a while, but, okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, next agenda item is the zoning board of appeals appointments. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? Hearing none, this is my agenda item. Thank you to the clerk and the treasurer. We have all the synopsis on here for everyone. It appears, we don't have do we have an actual letter from?
No, we
or
do
anything?
not, that came from Paul.
Okay, Paul Shoemaker is the current president of the ZBA, and he received notification that Maureen Finn was going to be stepping down. So Ross Belke has already been the alternate. He would like to be actually on the zoning board of appeals, and Joe Adair will be the alternate in case Ross cannot make it.
Or anybody.
Or anybody.
Right,
Can I just ask one question?
yes.
Can we change the first resolution to accept the resignation rather than remove? Because we really can't remove a sitting board member just by count. We have to, it's a different process, and I don't, reading the summary, I don't think we're removing her. I think.
No, I just didn't have a resignation letter, so that's why
Okay.
I worded it that way.
So what's it gonna say now?
Accept the resignation of,
Maureen.
Instead of remove.
instead of recommendation to remove, so Oh, right, sorry,
recommendation
recommendation.
to
I
accept.
crossed out too much.
You ready?
Yes.
Madam President, I'll resolve to accept the resignation of Maureen Finn from the Zoning Board of Appeals effective immediately.
And you didn't read it the way you're supposed
That's okay.
With regret.
With regret.
Motion by Mr. Ballard, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Conan. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried. The next one is to appoint Ross Belkey.
I move to comply with the President's recommendation to appoint Ross Belkey to the Zoning Board of Appeals to a term ending December 31st, 2015, subject to the appointee meeting the qualification set forth in the Chapter 2 of the Village Charter.
Motion by Mr. Conan, is there a second?
Support.
Support by Mr. Ballard. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried. The last one is to appoint a new alternate.
I'll make a motion to comply with the President's recommendation to appoint Joe A. Dare as an alternate to the Zoning Board of Appeals to a term ending December 31st, 2015, subject to the appointee meeting the qualifications set forth in Chapter 2 of the Village Charter.
Motion by Mr. Sturry, is there a second?
Support.
Support by Mr. Clark. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried. Next agenda item is the Construction Board of Appeals appointments. Are there any public comments? Any public comments?
Can we go back to ZBA for just a minute?
Yes.
Paul had asked me a question this morning to kind of run by Jeff.
Mhm.
Being that the ZBA only meets as needed, is there any violations of their minutes? Do they need to hold a special meeting to accept, like, I took the minutes for the meeting the other night. What if we don't have another meeting, another variance request for 6-8 months? We don't want to get stuck in that quagmire again.
For 2 years.
Yeah. Should we just hold a quick special meeting to approve those minutes and
I
that's?
think in the case of a ZBA, you may want to do that because you're giving people who are trying to do projects and those variances, in many cases, you may have to record something. You know, in other words, you get a variance and they can't get a bank loan because the bank says, well, you're in violation of the local ordinance. So it may, depending on, I don't want to say that should be the blanket rule, Joe, but in situations like on a development project where someone wants relief from the village ordinance, you may want to do that just so that there's no question. Under Michigan law, council actions or really any governing body, they're not official till the minutes are approved. So, like I said, in situations where people have come to the ZBA and are really dependent, their project can't go forward without that action being official, it might not be a bad idea. If you're just meeting and it's just, I'm trying to think of an example that for something on the agenda where it's not time sensitive, I'm not sure that you need to meet that quickly.
Okay, this was their first meeting of the fiscal year where they appointed their officers. There was no actual variances, no public hearing in that
That's a
meeting.
good example. Like, let's say you meet for an annual meeting to appoint officers.
Right,
I don't think that one's critical. Now, like I said, let's say someone came in and they're gonna add an addition onto, the senior citizen complex. And they're waiting on, they gotta get this done and approved. And let's say they were turned down. Well, again, their right to go to circuit court and appeal doesn't start running. You have 21 days to appeal that decision. That doesn't start running until those minutes are approved. So you can see if you waited a year, you could get a lawsuit a year from now saying, hey, I object to this decision.
right.
And that would not be, obviously something we would want to have happen.
But as a part of that meeting, we could not approve the minutes because I did not attend that last meeting of those minutes. And they didn't have enough of a
Right.
quorum to do that, and that was about Larry's down there.
Right.
So I'm
You're
assuming
right.
that we should have a meeting
As soon as
just to
possible,
take care
of
of
that.
point.
approving those minutes.
Yeah.
Well, how much do you charge for somebody to come before ZBA? Like dollar amount? 300, say?
Yeah, there's a $300.
I mean, the intent is always to try and cover the costs of the meeting.
Then
if
you
you
gotta
had-
have it for 2 meetings.
But if you had the second meeting, maybe we could have a two structure pay thing where you say, okay, normally you get, say, $25. Well, Steve, you don't get anything. But the average member, we get,
We're
I don't know
gonna
what
give
it
you double
is.
that next time.
Maybe it's $25. I'm just thinking along the lines of planning. And the second meeting, okay, maybe we only pay $10, enough to pay for their gas and a quick time, because you're only here 5 minutes. Quorum, approve the minutes, and then you're done. You know, so it's only a quick meeting to keep it all within the cost before we raise the price up too much to the applicant.
Would you
Just a
have
thought.
to redo the rate fee schedule thing?
You would have to.
So that's not just an easy thing.
Mr. Galecki?
Can you do something where you don't have a meeting and you just have the members approve the minutes?
No,
Yes.
it has to be an open meeting.
It has to be an open meeting, they can't just read the minutes, say,
No.
okay, approves, do a signature thing? Has to be a meeting.
Right.
Then you'd have to do a fee schedule, new fee schedule.
What, and then Joe, I don't attend the meeting. Now, what some ZDAs do is, they'll, to kind of expedite it, they will, and again, this is mostly on development type projects, they'll hand out and say, at that meeting, they'll say, this is the decision of the board to, just to get the clock running. In other words, you're not waiting to, you're giving them the paperwork right now so that the decision is kind of final, although the minutes would. So that's an option, but again, I wouldn't recommend that if you're just appointing officers or, you don't have to do it in every case. But like I said, if you knew that, if you got to me ahead of time and said, look, we've got a developer coming in, this is really important, I would recommend that, where you literally hand them the decision of the board that night, and then they know that the decision's been made. Then I don't think you would necessarily be under the pressure to hold a second meeting right away. That's an option you could have. It may just be easier just to meet on the meeting, but I'm trying to give you some flexibility on how you may want to handle it.
That's what we do at planning. We approve it that night and the signatures are done that night. So we don't have, it doesn't wait till our minutes for the next month. It's done that night. So the application is signed by unless there's a lot, a lot of conditions or something like that. But even if there's just a few conditions, we'll just jot them down on the application and then it's all done that night. So we don't wait till we approve minutes.
You don't have to raise your hand, Jim, you can just talk.
That's the way we've always done it on ZBA before, and then we've also told the applicant that we will give them a written verification within 24 hours. And in the past, I was always the secretary,
Right.
and that letter always went out the very next day.
That'll work. Again, like Ben said, that's sometimes hard, especially on a ZBA where they have the ability to impose conditions on the approval. And if you got give and take at the meeting, sometimes it's hard to get all of that onto the approval. But if you're doing it within 24 hours, that's, again, I'm not sure you really need to add that second meeting as quickly if you're getting that into their hands.
I guess the thing to do would be talk to Paul and see what transpired at that meeting, how they handled it, and if that was taken
Well,
care of.
and you're right, with the minutes, we've still got to get that all approved
Right.
regardless.
But if he was given the paperwork at the meeting, that everything was taken care of,
And approved.
and evidently it was, I mean, the building, one would think.
It's not so much when it gets approved, Steve, it's when it gets denied that
Yeah.
you run into the problem.
Yeah.
Approval, once it's approved, things start happening right now.
Yeah.
You have to have other.
Any other discussion? Okay, moving on to the next agenda item, which was the Construction Board of Appeals appointments. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? Hearing none. Everyone has the recommendations on there. Steve Nickel, Robin Karas, and Lyle Ballard.
The only thing that I need to say on this is I talked to Steve, I talked to Lyle, I was unable to get a hold of Robin. I guess if you want to wait to approve them, we need to do it. The slots run out on April 14th, so I just sent him a letter that he's on it, and if he doesn't want to be on it, he can let me know and we can find somebody else.
Is he still a resident here, correct?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to confirm that.
Yeah, I left a message.
I see the cars there, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, no, I left a message, I have not heard back, but I'll send the letter out and, we go from there.
We do this in one motion?
No. 3 individuals.
Yeah, you can if you want, but I mean, if you want, if people want to vote separately, that's probably the better way to do it.
He's gonna have to.
Yeah, that's
Because,
right.
because Robin is gonna be as per his acceptance.
I'll start the first one.
Okay.
Make a motion to appoint Steve Mickle to the Construction Board of Appeals to a term ending April 14th, 2014, subject to the appointee meeting the qualifications set forth in Chapter 2 of the Village Charter.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Sturts, second by Mr. Conan. Any other discussion? Is that supposed to be chapter 11 or chapter 2?
Chapter 2, I
Two.
think.
Chapter 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Roman numeral 2.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried. The next one is Mr. Karas.
Madam President, I'll resolve to appoint Robin Karas to the Construction Board of Appeals to a term ending April 14th, 2014, subject to the appointee meeting the qualifications set forth in Chapter 2 of the Village Charter.
Motion by Mr. Ballard. Is there a second?
Support.
I thought you were putting for his acceptance.
No, because the qualifications takes care of that.
Second by Mr. Clark. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried. The last one is for Mr. Ballard.
I'll move to appoint Lyle Ballard to the Construction Board of Appeals to a term ending April 14th, 2014, subject to the appointee meeting the qualifications set forth in Chapter 2 of the Village Charter.
Motion by Mr. Clark. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Conan. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Madam President, I'll abstain from that resolution.
Thank you. Next agenda item is police vests uniform allowance. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? Hearing none. Police Commissioner Conan, this is your agenda item.
Yes. As you might remember, the police department, we're gonna buy new vests, and they were gonna cost about $700 a piece. And the chief got a grant to cover half the cost of the vest for the department, and the other half was gonna be paid out of the officers' uniform allowance. And what this is about here is, these officers are requesting this, the amounts you see here, they did not use up in the last budget year. They're requesting to move that over to the new budget year, this unused portion of their last year's uniform allowance, so they can apply that to the cost of the bulletproof vests. So,
Can I ask
that's,
a question, Dave?
yes.
Now, in the if in their agreements, do we have like a uniform allowance in the agreements?
Yes.
Okay,
We have a uniform allowance for our full-time employees, and we do have
right.
give some
Usually
for our
they're-
part-timers.
You
It's
use
like-
it or lose it.
That's what I was gonna
Yes.
ask, that's really what I was asking.
Yes.
But this has always been their attention.
No, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to understand, so the
Yes.
resolution,
The only one that affects though is Andrew, because he is the only one that has a contract per se. The
Right.
rest are all part-timers.
The part-timers don't really
Oh,
have a
okay.
contract,
Chief is on.
but we do
There's
give
no-
the part-timers
Okay, yeah, and she,
200.
I'm sorry, so it's Howard and
right,
Andrew
so
that,
they lose it under the
they,
agreement.
under the agreement, they would lose it. They've been banking it because they
Gotcha.
knew this grant was coming through.
Okay,
So it's
So,
through now.
Yeah, so they would like to be able to
It's
just
really
carry it
not an
over.
additional cost, but it does add to our, it would have went against our last year's budget, money we didn't use, but it will add these sums to this year, and we'll eventually have to make a budget amendment.
So how much more will it cost us out of our,
$1,200 is being carried over.
This
so
is,
then 35 minus 1,200?
no,
No,
The grant's gonna be $3,500.
right, and all the officers are using their uniform allowance to pay for this.
Okay.
For
the
their
other
half. For their
So
half.
all we're really
For
worried
their
about
half.
is
Yep.
allowing them to carry it forward.
Yeah, we're just carrying this uniform allowance from last year to this year.
Like the one, like the $200 amount, really their half is $350. So what they're looking to do is use this 200 from last year's budget and another 150 from this year's budget, so they
Yeah.
can get their half paid for.
So
And
part-timers get an allowance?
Yes.
$200.
I didn't know that.
I'll move to allow officers a one-time carryover of their uniform allowance from fiscal year 2012-2013 to help offset their cost of the new bulletproof vests.
Motion by Mr. Audi, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Cronin.
Jeff, do you
I just
want to change
wondered,
something in that?
well, no, that's fine.
Did you have any more you were
I
having?
think everybody understands that that would amend the two officers' contracts, but do we need a budget
It's
amendment?
gonna need a
sometime?
budget, I was waiting for you to finish it. You'll need a budget amendment because it wasn't budgeted for in that manner.
Well, I know, and I mentioned that we will have to make it a budget
Yeah,
amendment.
he did say
Right.
that. I believe it's a roll call because it's been in there.
Now, we don't make a budget amendment from last year for the money we didn't use, so, or do we, Joe?
No, you have to make, you can't amend last year's budget, but you'll have to bring that amount forward into this year's
Yeah.
budget.
Right.
How come nobody else is getting them? Is it just these officers are the ones that qualify?
Because
Wanted
no,
to
these
sign
are the
up.
only ones that have money left over. There's some that don't have any money left over in their uniform allowance. So if they're gonna get them, they're gonna have to put in this year's and on their own.
Oh, I see.
Those were just the ones that had money.
But a lot of these officers, I'm not sure if you know them, but like Mike Patrick and Dave and Susan, I think, I don't know how long Phil's been here, but the
He's
other
new.
ones,
Yeah.
but the other ones have been here quite a while.
Yeah,
I think that's great too, that the chief found the grant for us to utilize.
I agree.
It helps.
Any other discussion? It'll be a roll call vote.
Audie,
Yep.
Cronin,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Baylor,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Cooper.
Yes. Motion passes. Next agenda item is Planning Commission in-house training with McKenna. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? Hearing none, village clerk and Mr. DeLucky, these are your agenda items.
You got it?
Well, we've been talking about this for quite a long time. It's been in the planning commission budget for 3 or 4 years. So finally, we decided that we've got some time and we'd like to do this. So do you all have a copy of the itinerary? So at a previous planning commission meeting where Amy Neary was there, our planner from McKenna, we came up with this guideline. So it was actually things the whole board came up with of what they wanted to learn. So in my opinion, this is the best way to go. So if we have been to seminars before, been to a 2-day seminar and a 1-day seminar and other 2-day seminar. 2-day seminar is $350. And that's just a seminar for one person, and then you gotta go there, you got room, that kind of stuff. If you just do a 1-day seminar, it's usually about $200. Then, so that you got that times 7 people, that's 1,400. And those seminars, you come out with a little bit of that whole day. So you don't get the whole day, you just get a little bit. So this way, we're tailor-made to the whole thing is gonna be what we're looking for. So, and council is invited. This meeting should be our first, this training session should be our first meeting of our next meeting, which will be the next month. She said she could put it together that fast, so I'd like to have a head count on council, and then ZBA is also invited. So I'd like to get them a head count before we, because she said she'd bring handouts for everybody in attendance, and I would hope that council would come.
Can we also extend it maybe to Dennis?
Sure.
And what about like the other officials?
I thought about, that's what I was gonna say.
Michelle?
I thought we ought to open it up to Armada Township if they want to chip in for some of the cost. Or Richmond or Romeo, if anyone's interested from there.
Would she be willing to do it for $1,200?
Well, I'm not gonna go there on that one.
I'd keep it right within.
Well, that kind of defeats the purpose of tailoring it right to
Tailoring it
our
to us.
community.
Yes.
Richmond,
We had
bigger.
one with New Haven, what, about 10, 15 years ago, man? But like you say, it wasn't really Just for Armada. This is just for Armada, makes more sense.
Yeah, I mean, we're actually asking questions on the master plan. I mean, you can kind of see that what we did, and, the problems we've had in the past and the questions, it's all kind of down there, so, I'm kind of excited about this. I kind of sandbagged it a little bit, but I think it's gonna be pretty informative.
Do they have the new electronic signage that, remember we talked about that? Is that on here, the new
Yeah,
regulations
we should
for
have
that?
something on signage on here. There's also gonna be, I don't know, I don't think it's gonna be this time, but, Amy's gonna get somebody to come in and, professional on LED lighting.
Right.
So there's a lot of things that are kind of, and I don't think that's gonna be this night. I think that this night's just gonna be training, and the lighting guy would be next, but, cause LED, that's a whole different ballgame. We just did the sign thing and did lighting, and now it's all gonna change again.
Right. What about PUDs? Are you gonna talk about those at all?
I'm not sure there's some stuff
It's on there.
that we put in, there's some stuff that's mandated by the state, that she's gonna have in, so,
Okay.
Can we get CDBG to pay for it?
We have, no, because
Yeah,
there was no money left in administration on that.
I already asked that.
This looks like a real good agenda, Ben. I think
Well,
you're
thanks.
gonna be very
I
satisfied
think
with
it's
that.
a great deal.
Being said, I'll resolve to allow Ben Delecki to sign the authorization to proceed for training seminar for the planning commission for a cost not to exceed $1,200 on behalf of the Village of Armada Planning Commission.
Motion by Mr. Ballard, is there a second?
Support.
Support by Mr. Clark. Any other discussion? I believe it's a roll call.
Ballard,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes,
Audi,
Yes.
Conan,
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
motion passes.
Ben, the original is in your box. Did you get it? For Becky, I'm supposed to let you know that it's there.
And this is gonna be part of your regular meeting
Sure,
beginning of
yeah,
May. Okay.
yeah, we've got a meeting scheduled.
May 5th or 6th?
Yeah, I think we have one scheduled Wednesday, but we'll cancel that one because there's no applicant. And then, I think it's this Wednesday. And then our next one will be the first Monday.
Okay, it's 7:30, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, basic.
And it's gonna be 3 hours, so it'll go till 10:30 at night?
I guess.
Okay.
Or will you?
So maybe we'll bump it up. Let's see if Amy can come in a little bit earlier.
Order a pizza, support local business, order a pizza.
Is Mr. Sturt's buying?
I like that idea. Okay.
Everybody's coming now.
Yeah.
That's fine, we'll put it out on the.
Caitlin's even coming. All right, perfect, good deal.
Thank you.
All right, the next thing is the executive session. If someone wants to make the motion to go into it after a 5-minute recess, the time is now 4.
Please read from your agenda statement.
Madam President, can we bump over to like the upcoming agenda and stuff? That way everybody around here can leave, like the camera and everything?
No, camera has to come back because there's still an agenda item on
okay.
there.
You got votes after.
Oh,
So that's why it's
Okay.
put where it is.
okay.
The time is 7, I can't see it, what is it, 7:40? 7:47?
Madam President, I'll resolve to enter executive session at 7:47 PM.
No. So you want to take a 5-minute recess?
Well, I'm not done yet.
You're never done.
PM to discuss employee agreements after a 5-minute recess.
Okay.
You're not going in at
Motion by
7:47.
Mr. Ballard, is there a second?
Support.
Support by Mr. Clark. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying
Roll
aye.
call.
Aye.
Oh, call the roll.
Oh, sorry. Roll.
Ballard,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Audi,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Conan.
Yes.
Motion passes. We're on a recess. Okay.
We're good.
Let's go.
Also move that we exit the closed session.
At 8:34.
At what?
8, what time?
8:34.
34.
Motion by Mr. Conan. Is there a second?
Support.
Support by Mr. Ballard. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried. We are now back into our public meeting. We are moving on to our next agenda item, which is employee agreements. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? Hearing none, negotiation committee, this is your agenda item.
A couple people want to say something, to rush through.
Yeah.
Yes.
I gotta just make the motion.
Okay, how do you want these motions?
They're on there.
Exactly how they are,
Oh, okay,
but,
The second one for
the
Becky.
second one for Becky.
okay.
The second one.
At least we know what we're talking
Right there. Okay, I move to approve the employment agreement between the Village of Armada and Rebecca Henderson for the term of April 1st, 2013 to March 31st, 2015. Subject to the employees signing the agreement and authorize the president and clerk to sign the agreement on behalf of the village.
Motion by Mr. Conan, is there a second?
Support.
Support by Mr. Ballard. Any other discussion? Do we have to do roll call on these?
No.
No?
I'm sorry, that's 2016, not
I
15.
got them right here.
Can you
Oh,
change
is it?
that, Dave?
Yeah.
It's
Are you-
2000s, they're all 2016.
Are you
I'm
okay to
sorry.
change that in your motion,
Yes,
Mr. Conan?
yes.
Mr. Ballard, are you okay to
Yes,
second that?
absolutely.
Okay, everyone has it. It is till 2016. Is there any other discussion?
You want a roll call, Jeff?
No, he said no, we don't.
I didn't think so.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried. Next one.
Madam President, I resolve to approve the employment agreement between the Village of Armada and James Sharp for the term of April 1st, 2013 to March 31, 2016, subject to the employee signing the agreement and authorize the president and clerk to sign the agreement on behalf of the village.
Motion by Mr. Ballard. Is there a second?
Support.
Support by Mr. Audi. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried. The next one.
Madam President, I'll make a motion to approve the employment agreement between the Village of Armada and Howard Smith for the term April 1st, 2013 to March 31st, 2016, subject to the employee signing the agreement and authorize the president and clerk to sign the agreement on behalf of the
Yeah,
village.
that's a typo.
Motion by Mr. Sturt. Is there a second?
Support.
Support by Mr. Ballard. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carried. Are there any other upcoming agenda items that anyone would like to talk about? Any upcoming agenda items? Hearing none. Any citizen comments? Any citizen comments? Hearing none. Council comments. I wanted to address the board and the public to let them know that I did hear from Marv Wolak. He is at home. He is doing a lot better. He is hoping to get his strength back so he can come back to us very shortly. So if anyone wants to wish him well, he is at home if they want to do so. Also, I wanted to let the community know that the first 4 minutes of the meeting were cut out by accident. So this is the regular council meeting of April 8th, 2013. We started the meeting at 7:02. We did the Pledge of Allegiance, the roll call, and the approval of the agenda. And then we had citizen comments taking place when the camera cut on. So just want to bring all the public up to date on that. Are there any other council comments?
Madam President, I received a call to action today from a concerned citizen of Howard Street. I'll be contacting them tomorrow morning. Apparently, this is, I'd like to know this from council, when was the Holloway Street project where they did some repaving over there, when was that done?
Maybe at least 3 years, maybe 4.
Halloween.
No more than 4.
3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this was a complaint that stems back from there. I just received it today, so I'll be looking into that and bring it back to the council for next week.
Okay. I also want to let everyone know that we want to wish Matthew Farr well. He is leaving the Armada Times, and we want to thank him for his letter to us, and we want to wish him well in his new venture as well. So thank you, Matt Farr, for all your contributions to our council. Is there any other council comments? Hearing none. Any community events? Any community events? Hearing none, the time is, was it 8:40? Is that right?
Yep.
8:40, is there a motion to adjourn our meeting?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Ballard, is there a second?
Support.
Support by Mr. Clark. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.